Alright, welcome back. This is Sylverfyre again. We will be moving on to Tetris Effect connected with cloudyshoe.
I am cloudyshoe. This is Tetris Effect connected. Journey mode, we'll be playing on normal. And this is available on pretty much everything now. It came out on Switch a few days ago, but I'll be playing it on Xbox. So let's just get right to it. In 3, 2, 1, go. Alright, so the way this works is there's a whole bunch of stages, and they all have a 36 line goal, except for the very last one. And the visual effects and the sound effects are affected by your gameplay. And just a word of caution, this entire game is basically one giant photosensitivity warning, because things will be flashing and whatnot all over the place. So the strategy here is essentially just to clear lines as fast as you can, preferably Tetrises, because then you have less line clear delay. And there we go. That's the first level here. So this is what you would call it's generally referred to as guideline Tetris, because it follows the Tetris guideline that was released in... I'm not even sure. The first guideline game, I believe, was Tetris Worlds. But obviously this takes an extra aesthetic take on Tetris. And Tetris Effect is kind of unique in that it has a bunch of game modes, and it combines some of the major Tetris styles, like your main three Tetris communities are the modern Tetris community, which is generally focused more on multiplayer guideline style games. The retro community, or classic community, the big game there is NES Tetris, but also things like Game Boy Tetris and whatnot. And then your TGM folks. And this game has a little bit of all of those. Most of it is guideline, but there is a master mode which is somewhat like TGM. And then there's a classic score attack mode, which is based on NES Tetris. And they actually, the developer, Enhance, I believe, actually hired a top-level NES Tetris player to help design that mode. Which, if you're familiar with CTWC and whatnot, you're probably familiar with Green Tea. And they did a lot of work on the NES Tetris mode. So you'll notice as you move pieces around and you drop pieces, you'll get different sound effects. Depending on the level, each level has kind of a aesthetic to it. And so one thing you know if you've played a lot of Tetris is that misdrops are inevitable. And I thought about donating per misdrop, but I probably couldn't afford that. But I did decide that one thing I say a lot when I'm playing Tetris is oof. So I decided I will donate $5 for every time I say oof during this run. And chat, you can help me count.
Do those count?
Those do not count.
Okay.
It has to be gameplay inspired. And basically any time during the run that you have donations to read or anything is a good time because it's mostly just Tetris. So there's not a whole lot changing except for the music and the aesthetic.
I will say I am very visually enraptured by this.
Yeah.
We're just going to be watching, you know, 50 minutes of Tetris, and I'm okay with this.
Yep. And it's technically faster for most players not to use the stylized pieces, but to use like the standard colors. But like, what's the point of showing this game off if you're not going to show off the full aesthetic?
I was wondering about that, so that's a nice clarification. It's like, do you have to play like this? Because that sounds like, you know, it might just be really...
Yeah, it certainly can mess with your piece recognition, which will mess with your speed. Because in a game like this, you're usually using your peripheral vision to identify what pieces are coming next and try to stack accordingly. Though I am by no means a Tetris expert. But I am pretty good for a non-pro. But I believe the world record in this difficulty is something like 20 minutes.
Bubbles.
And so one thing I wanted to, because I wanted to show this off to its full effect, so my Xbox was the thing that could do that the most. My PC can't quite keep up with it. But playing on keyboard for modern Tetris is quite a bit faster. So I tried a number of different control schemes, and in the end, I'm actually using an arcade stick. And I've got the, but I'm not using the joystick at all. I've just got everything mapped to buttons. So it's
interesting. Okay.
As close to playing on keyboard as you can get without having a keyboard. Because while the Xbox actually can support it, it requires the game to support it as well.
Colorful bubbles.
Yeah.
I'm here for bubbles.
What's
Oh,
that?
this is certainly something to look at.
Yeah. Yeah. The levels only last a couple minutes, which, depending on how much you care for a certain aesthetic, is either a good thing or a bad thing. Okay. So the kind of general theme of journey mode is that you're like kind of on a journey around the world. I think uniting the world with Tetris or something. But so you'll get a grade, kind of like not TGM grades, but kind of that kind of idea. And most of the time we'll get a B because we're focusing on speed, not on score, which is what the grades are based on.
Are they also based on time?
I'm not sure 100%. But like even top players, top speedrunners, get like a B most of the time. So I think score is a lot bigger of a component. And they're actually a little slower, but every now and then I'll go for some T-spins just because swag.
Not T-spin.
And sometimes just because playing multiplayer just gets you so used to it that you unconsciously stack that way anyway. Because in multiplayer, I think in regular modes too, but it's more important in multiplayer. T-spins send the same amount of garbage as a Tetris, or a T-spin double does, and obviously you only need 2 lines, so it's faster to set up and perform.
A question in chat actually, is there an optimal place to put your well in this Tetris, or do you just kind of...
I believe the optimal strategy for this, if you're good at that style, is actually what they would call 6-3 stacking, which is it's a 10 wide playboard, so you have your well would be
on the 4th column?
Yeah, I think it would be on the, what would that be, the 6th? You'd have the 6 on the left side. But unless you're used to that kind of stacking, most people are more used to stacking like the traditional right well. For most players, if you're not used to it, you'll lose more time thinking about it, what you need to do for 6-3 stacking. And this is one of my favorite levels for the sound effect that it makes when you move your pieces.
Oh, this is actually really cool. It's so jazzy.
So, much like jazz, Tetris is about the blocks that you don't place. Oof.
That's +1 on the oof counter.
All right.
Do the speed levels go up faster as you continue your journey?
It's kind of like Tetris the Grandmaster, where the speed levels generally kind of increase, but they also like slow down at certain points.
Okay.
So it kind of is, unless you remember what's coming up, which I'm usually fairly bad at. It can take you off guard. Because usually it'll speed up for like 10 or 20 lines or so, and then it'll slow back down. And since there's a fairly long lock delay, and it increases if you're actively rotating a piece. High speeds aren't necessarily too difficult to deal with, and they don't really get to any level in this run that would really jeopardize you at all.
This is no TGM in terms of speed.
No, you don't get to 20G or anything. And the other thing about this run is it's super marathon safe, because if you top out, all it does is send you back to the beginning of the level that you're on.
Okay, that is nice for a Tetris game in terms of marathon safety.
Yeah.
Because had some very sad times watching a TGM speed runs that just don't quite make it to the end.
Oh yeah, yep. Yeah, TGM is one of those things I plan on tackling sometime in the near future, but that I'm not super great at the moment. It's a unique set of skills.
I mean, the best.
It's quite a bit different from a lot of other ones.
I can't even get to 500 in TGM yet.
I can get there, and I can stay alive for a little bit. But I had been, up until now, I'd been playing it on keyboard, which I think is easier early on, but once you get to like the 500 level, it seems like the arcade stick makes a difference. Or when you're basically just sliding things around.
I like this level setup too.
Yeah. And this is another one where the style of the pieces makes them kind of especially hard to recognize.
Uh-huh.
So it can slow you down. Something about that shape there just doesn't register as much. And if anyone was not aware, going on right now is actually the Classic Tetris World Championship. There was bracket stage this weekend and next weekend, and then I think the top 8 round is in a couple weeks, but it's been really good so far this year. Which is it's the NES Tetris Championship.
Anyway, you are watching Speedrun Ragnarok. We're supporting Take This. Well, one of the things that Take This has been doing is that many conventions and events have gone virtual this year, and Take This has adapted. Take This has founded AFK Online, which is a moderated Discord server that's designed to offer peer-based, non-therapeutic emotional support to attendees. You can visit takethis.org for more information. Also the Discord link.
Oof.
I just put the Discord link for the Take This Discord as well as the Valkyrie's Discord in chat.
It's also a little faster to stack pretty high. Though,
I imagine with
not-
insta drops it's not super important.
yeah. But I'm also trying to stack lower than I normally would, just for a little bit of safety. I say as I stack to the sky.
You might as well show us what really,
Ah, that is a big oof.
is a big oof a bigger donation than a normal oof?
Let's count it as 2 oofs.
Alright, 2 oofs. And then
Yeah.
that would put us at 3 normally. 3 total.
Because when, you think for some reason that you had an eyepiece and you're going
Alright,
to
5
get a
oofs?
Tetris.
might have
5
missed
sounds
some.
about right.
Okay, I think I missed some. Counting the
Yeah.
big oof as a double.
Yeah. Because, when you think that, you have an eyepiece for some reason, and you really don't, and you're stacked up pretty high.
And then you stick that not an eyepiece into your eyepiece slot.
Yeah. It's not great. Because one of the things that I and probably others do sometimes as well is mistake your hold piece for your next piece. Let's see here. There we go. All right. And one thing about stacking higher, though, that helps in a way you might not anticipate is that just by the fact that knowing that the falling piece is going to hit the stack sooner, sometimes it just makes you make a decision faster.
It seems like that's one of the most important things of this speedrun is just like... You don't necessarily always want to take the time to figure out the perfect place to put a piece. You kind of want to just go faster so you can get to 36 lines, because 36 lines is not an especially big goal.
No. And the thing which I have not been doing at all this run, that's also important, is to pay attention to how close you are to 36.
I was wondering about that, because sometimes you've gone over a tiny bit.
Yeah, because they don't carry over at all. And if you're at 35 and you spend a whole bunch of time stacking for another Tetris, that's just a bunch of time you could have been on the next level. This is one of the places where it speeds up a little bit, but with the mechanics of a modern Tetris, it's not too worrying usually.
I have a $20 donation from Raw Marengo. Oof.
Yeah, there's a couple spots there where I spent a little extra time thinking about where I wanted to put a piece. I could have just dropped it and been fine. Oh, this is another sound effect one that I particularly enjoy. Though I do generally not enjoy snow all that much. Because we see too much of it here.
Is it the type of thing that makes you go oof?
It could be. Oh, hey, when you turn a... Oh, oof. Okay, we'll get out of this. It'll be fine. There we go. Hey, like the only time you care about squares. Usually they're just a pain. Except for like the one time that you really need one. Usually you don't get them, so. Though, like all guideline games these days, Tetris Effect uses what's called the 7-bag system. So it'll randomize, because there's 7 different piece shapes. So it'll randomize each one of them into a set and give you those each time. So the most you can go between getting a piece is like 13 pieces, I believe. Which is unlike something like NES Tetris, which just picks a piece and pretty much randomly, given the limitations of the NES. And the only thing it checks for is if it gets the same piece twice in a row, it will try one more time to get a different piece. But whatever comes up that second time, it'll give you. And I don't remember the exact number, but for like TGM1, it's a similar type system, but I believe it tries 3 or 4 times. Okay, yep, this is one of the ones where it gets a bit faster for a while.
Ooh, starting off on 11.
Yeah. I'm not sure if these are, I would imagine, they're the same type of speeds. That the speed equals like the gravity. Which is like Tetris speak for how fast a piece falls. Because there's 20 It's 20 blocks high. And so the fastest gravity is 20 G, where a piece will just spawn on the top of the stack.
Are we near the end of this section? Because I think you carry over the stack in between, like, sections.
Yeah, you carry the stack throughout the whole game.
Oh, okay.
Unless you chop out, and then it graciously clears the stack for you.
It'd be rather difficult if it didn't.
Yeah. Well, there is... we won't see it until the very end, but there is a mechanic in this, which is, like, one of their major new mechanics for this game, which is called the zone, where it stops the timer, and when you clear lines, it, like, raises the floor instead of clearing out from below. But then once you top out, it clears all the stuff below you, and it's not like a game over or anything. So it's a way to kind of like clean things up without having to do it at full speed. And it the way the game's designed also, it'll get you a lot of points. And there's a multiplayer mode called Zone Battle, where you can send... It'll count the total number of lines that you get in there. And so, like, if you get 12 lines, they call it like a dodecatrice. And it'll send, like, a whole lot of garbage to your opponent. I believe the maximum you can get is 22. I'm not sure. I know 21 has been done. But you have to do like special setups to get that many.
Yeah, because that's actually bigger than the peace field.
Yeah. Okay. See, like right there, that level started off a little faster, and then just once you get to, I think it was 24, just like slows right down. Isn't necessarily how you'd like your stack to look, but it'll work. Because one thing Tetris players will... One of the great lies we tell ourselves is every time that we get our stack back to the bottom, we say, well, that's the last time I'll ever have to do that. From now on, I won't make any mistakes. So this section, we shouldn't hit it because
look, we opened our well back up.
Yeah.
Sort of.
If you let this song play long enough, it gives you some real bad advice, but hopefully we won't get that far. Let's see here. Okay, there we go. So, if you let that song keep going, it tells you that you can touch the sky. Which,
That's very bad advice for Tetris.
yes, is pretty bad advice. Sure, why not? Let's... Oof.
That's I think that's 7.
All right. And obviously you can't see it, but I've been making some interesting faces. Oh, 35. I looked at the line count for once.
I mean, if you're keeping your stack, you might as well keep it neat, right?
Yeah. Sometimes you look at your stack and you think, who came up with this? Who made these decisions? And then you remember, oh, that person used to be me. But hopefully I have changed. So, it's not as important in this game, but normally, in most versions of Tetris, you want to have your line piece well on the right, because the way the piece rotates, it biases the towards the left, so it's or to the right, so it's easier to get pieces over that way. But in Game Boy Tetris, it is the opposite, because that was back in the Wild West days of Tetris when people came up with their own way to do everything. That was pretty high. What? Ah.
Doesn't actually count as a oof, I don't think.
Probably not.
That was a pretty impressive recovery, admittedly.
That, however, does count as an oof. Whatever I was doing there. Sometimes if you rotate a piece too early, it can be detrimental to getting the piece where you want it to, because it'll get stuck on something. Alright, and with that, we are now on the final level, which is 90 lines instead of 36. which is kind of funny. The numbers they use in this game, because in most modern Tetris games, there's usually a 40-line sprint mode. And in older Tetris games, a lot of the speed runs are 100 lines. And I believe expert mode goes to 48. So they successfully, probably on purpose, avoided both of the main Tetris numbers. And though this game has an in-game timer, the speedrun is timed RTA.
And when you hit 90, is that time?
Yes, 90. The 90th line is time. And this is the section where even good hardware lags a little bit. And believe it or not, this is with the particle effects turned down. If you have them up all the way, sometimes it's very hard to see what's going on. And that's time.
That's 89 there, and...
So this is zone mode now. So there's like kind of like a cutscene at the end.
Time.
So this is where the times, it pauses like the in-game time, and it lets you clear lines until you get to the top or your zone time runs out. So I got a dodecatris there, and it
This is just like during the credits or whatever.
Yeah, it's kind of like a credits deal. You can use this throughout the run if you want to clean things up, but obviously it is very slow because the lines don't count towards your total.
Oh.
So speedrunners.
But it's better than it's better than if you were like at 80 and you were like about to die.
Yes. Because if you're at 80 and you're about to die, you go back to 0 and need to get another 90.
Yeah.
And that is Tetris Effect Connected Journey Mode.
All right. We had a round of 41:55.
That would actually be a PB.
However, our restreamer said that she did start the timer late, so you probably have to retime.
Okay, 43-ish. Okay, that's. What is my PB?
Still sounds like a good time.
Mid 42, I think. But that's pretty good. Yeah.
And
All right,
that
well-
was Tetris Effect by cloudyshoe, and I'm your host, Sylverfyre. I will be handing off the host mic to Sparkover. Our next run is Primer Light, followed by Heroine's Quest, the Herald of Ragnarok. And there's a donation incentive for the name of the heroine in Herald of Ragnarok, and we've got to come up with some nice names for, the herald of this very marathon.